the hunger, like it is orders. When I have to
So I'm just waiting for another teacher so she can manage the chat. Let's see, do we have an interpreter in this room? So I could spotlight you? I'm putting the Google Docs or the Google slide in the chat if you want to follow along. I actually set up a poll, but I can't find it anymore. So here's the login. If you haven't logged in for the day, you just need to log in once. If you can, in the chat, can you share maybe either the grade level, what language you teach in, and what you want to learn from this session? Is everyone able to share in the chat? So, oh, okay, 1 second.
Hello, I can't see myself, but I'm one of the interpreters.
Oh, okay, what's your name?
Susie Call.
Mm,
I don't know if my client is in this or not.
okay, let me pin you. Okay, is everyone able to, are you able to see the interpreters now? Okay. Okay, so if you haven't signed in, you just need to sign in once. So if you're not sure how to get paid, these are the links for getting paid. I think you need to log in, sign in, and also do it through Empower. So a little bit about me. So this session is using BookCreator with Chinese and other languages. So if you can share in the chat what languages you teach in, so I can kind of know what to focus on. So my name's Joanna Sito, and I've actually taught at Chinese Education Center for 13 years. So it's now known as Lee Newcomer. So it's all newcomer students that speak Chinese. And I've also, we've actually done workshops with Mission Ed Center. So whatever works for Chinese can also work with Spanish, can also work with other languages. And whatever I use with Chinese, I actually also apply with English language learners. So I've also taught 2 years of kindergarten. Now I'm a 4th grade Cantonese bilingual teacher at Gordon J. Lau. I've also used BookCreator with college students. So last year, I was kind of working with the Star Talk program at SF State, and you'll see some of the work that they also did. So BookCreator is pretty much a free program where students can make books. So there's 2 different kind of accounts. You could have a free account and a paid account. So the difference is how many books you get and how many libraries you get. So if you use the free account, you get 1 free library with 40 books, which works really well. If you have a class of 30 students, you have each student make a book, and you can make a library that way. So if you're like, I want to do one particular book, you can have them make a book, close down the library, and then make a new library and make a new book. Or you can have every student just make 1 book for the whole school year, and everything they make goes into that one. teachers can also make templates to share. So after you make the template, you could actually insert it into the student books. And there's only one problem. If you have every student choosing their own book size, the templates don't fit properly. However, if at the beginning of the school year, you tell all the students to choose the same book size, then the template will fit into everyone's book. You can also combine student books. So if you're hoping to make a class book and students make their own pages, the teacher can then combine the student books to make a class book, and then you could publish it. If you do it that way, however, and you're doing the free account, you can only do this with one book at a time. And then you would kind of have to create the book. You could publish it, and then you would kind of have to create a new library each time you're doing this. Okay. You can also combine complete, like if students make the book for the entire school year, you can combine all student books that way at the end of the school year, and then you have everything in one book. If you do have the free account, you do have to archive it each time you make a new library. Okay, so teachers can also create your own book and model it for students for how to use each function. So you use a I do, we do, you do approach, and they can follow along. And as the school year goes on, you can then just show them the example and they will be able to do it. So BookCreator is also good for different languages. So Chinese is a really difficult language to write. However, there's a speech to text function, so they could do that with any language, Chinese being one of them. So these are the differences between the free and the premium. So you can always check it out yourself, but what I'm going to show you is mostly done with the free. So one simple way is with sentence patterns. So over here, you notice they have the sentence pattern using 因為 and 所以. So because of this, that's why that. So they can, if you're like differentiating, you can just do words, or you can actually do sentences. Another thing you could do is comic panels. So at the very beginning, so later on in the session, I'm going to show you how to make your own book and start your own BookCreator account. And what you want to do is you want the students to choose the one with the comic panel. So there's really no difference between the two, except that if you have the comic panel, you have the option of making comics. If you choose the book without it, they will not have this option. So you want the students to choose the one with the comics because they have the option of adding it. They don't necessarily need to. So this one is idiom during our time come. So it's literally the idiom of playing a song for a cow. So here's some more examples of Chinese idioms. So after teaching the Chinese idioms, I just had the students come up with pictures, and then they can use speech bubbles, they can use text, and they illustrate and show their understanding of the Chinese idiom. And you can actually do this with English idioms, any other idioms, or any stories as well. So another thing with comics is you can just practice with a simple sentence. So 我是一隻黑貓, so I'm a black cat. So all of these are just Halloween related, so they're practicing their Halloween terms. So this one is where you're just practicing words, and they're making their own flashcards. So over here, they're just practicing writing the words, and you notice that here's a speech bubble. So they recorded themselves reading the words. Over here, they wrote the vocabulary, they added a picture, and then they included a sentence. So there's different ways. So over here, this one's just a word, but over here, this is their word plus the picture. And you can tell that this is actually handwritten. So they can use the pen function and handwrite the words. Oh, sorry. So radical stories. So this one I actually did with college students. So what we did was we looked at certain radicals and they came up with characters that had that radical. So this one had the mock, so the wood. And what they did was they came up with different vocabulary that had it, and then they came up with sentences. So you could also do that with cognates. You could do it with prefixes, suffixes. So you could do it with different word parts. So over here, more work with Chinese radicals and strokes. So they could actually write out the stroke order. So instead of practicing writing it multiple times on paper and being really like bored, they could actually write it this way, and they could actually do it with different colors to show the order. So you could do a rainbow write. Here they're combining radicals to make words, to make phrases. So you could do that with compound words. You could do this with prefix, suffix. You could even do it with digraphs. So you could do it with anything, and they will learn it way better than just writing it out. So now we're going on to the recording function. So you could actually record the audio. You can also record a video. So in this one, the students actually wrote the character 2 times. However, one of the characters actually written incorrectly. So you'll notice this one has 2 lines, whereas this one has 3. And in the video, they're asking if you could figure out which one was the incorrect one. And then they identified the incorrect one and told why. So this way, students are more focused on whether the character is written correctly. And then they also get to test each other. And they were playing games where they were trying to see who could figure out the most correctly written characters. So it's fine. You can let them know that, oh, you could do this with spelling, you write, or you could do it with homophones. You could have a fill in the blank with 2 homophones there and there, and you can have students guess which homophone fits correctly into that sentence. This one, we actually combine some tools from Adobe Express. So in Adobe Express, which I'm going to do the session right after this one, if you want to join. So in Adobe Express, they have a feature where after you take a photo, you can remove the background. So over here in the classroom, they took a photo of themselves with their sea creatures, and then they added a background where they're underwater, and they were able to create their vacation. So they created a book about their vacation with their stuffed animal. So class book, so I said that you could create a class book. So when I created this class book, I actually had I had use of the premium account where all the students are able to be in the exact same book, and I gave each student a page. So this one is based on the book Brown Bear, except we did it in Chinese. So it says 聰明的海豚，聰明的海豚，你在看什麼? So smart dolphin, what do you see? So what happened was each student chose their own animal. Then they wrote their own adjective for the animal, and then they included the phrase, what do you see? After they finished it, they had to look at the picture of the animal before them. Or sorry, the picture of the animal after them. So this one, so Bonnie had to look at Bibin's page and was like, oh, he put in a dog. So now she had to add in the question, or answer the question and write, I see a cute dog looking at me. So each student created one sentence, and then they looked at the next page and then wrote the answer. So they connected it. So this one, if you're not able to get the premium account, what you would do is each student would just make the book with one page. And then you combine the books. So you would just tell each student, oh, you have this page, and then you ask this, you just have the student look at the next page and just decide who's after them. They look at the picture, they add the animal, and then when you combine pages, you could actually rearrange all the pages to make it match. You can also do book summaries. So instead of a book report where they're writing it by hand, you can actually have them do book reports on BookCreator. So if you're in the Chinese program, all the students have access to iChinese Reader. So this is one of the books from iChinese Reader. So what you would do is you would just teach the students how to take a screenshot of whichever book they read. They could then write the summary in English and then attempt to write the summary in Chinese. So if it's too hard, they could write a shorter summary in Chinese. So one sentence summary, okay? So this one is the book, it's an Elephant and Piggy book. And it was, I think The Big Guy Took My Ball. So over here, you'll notice that there's some drawings. So in BookCreator, there's one feature where students can draw and the computer will guess what the drawing is and come up with a simplified drawing. So the student would attempt to draw a ball, and then it would pop up with a bunch of what the computer thinks the student wants, and then they would choose it. So if they're like afraid to draw, and you can have them play around with that feature. And then here you notice that they can either type through text, speech to text. They could also actually type it up, or they could also use the pen feature and write it up. So over here, writing stories from Chinese characters. So what I did was, one of the things we did was I would give them a vocabulary word. So this student had the word 公园, which is park, and they could just use a 6 comic panel, 3 comic panel, or if it's too difficult, just have them do a 1 comic panel. So all they have to do is come up with a story or just a sentence. So over here, he has a fish in his mouth, and all he has is, so I don't like to eat fish. So you can differentiate. So if you know some of your students are better at the language, you can say, I'm gonna give you 6 panels, or if they're somewhere in the middle, maybe a 3 panel. So for a beginning, a middle, and an end. Or if it's really difficult for them, just do a 1 panel, 1 sentence, and that will work as well. So Chinese. So one of the things about Chinese is grammar is really hard. So a simple way to have them to write Chinese and not have to worry about that is I have them do Chinese haikus. So the haiku is a Japanese poem where it's based on syllables. And the syllables, it's a 3-line poem. It's 5 syllables, 7 syllables, and then 5 syllables. And in Chinese, since each character only has 1 sound, I literally just tell them all you have to do is do 5 characters, 7 characters, and then 5 characters. So that makes it easier for them. So they're not worried so much about the syllables, and they just need to get some characters on here. So, and they just need to count it. Publishing your library. So what you do is when you are done with your library, if you publish it and you share the link with your students, all your students can see everyone else's book and they could read it, okay? So it only works if it's published online. So, and even if they're not done with the book, you can still publish it, and then they can see each other's work in progress. you can own, if you do have the free account, you can only publish one library at a time. So if you make multiple libraries, what you would have to do is you would have to archive the other one, publish it, and then you students would only be able to see the one published library. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore BookCreator so that you can see some of the features, and then you could test it out and you can see how you could make yours. So I have 3 recommendations we could try. So you could try an All About Me comic. You can try a 3 vocab story. So that one, what I usually do is to make it more interesting. I would choose 3 vocabulary words, and then they would use those 3 vocabulary words to make a story. If at the big, I did that towards the end of the school year. So if it's too hard, you can start off with the 1 vocab story. And then towards the middle of the year, 2 vocab. Another one you could try would be the idiom story. Okay, so if you want to join and try making the book along with me, you can go into bookcreator.com, and I'm gonna check the chat to see what things you want to work with. So while you're getting into BookCreator, let me see. Sorry. Here's the slide deck if you haven't gotten it. Oh, sorry. And then as you're getting in, if you have anything in the chat you want to share, whereas what grade level you teach, what language, and then I can kind of give you suggestions for what you can work on. Okay, so I see Japanese, Spanish. Let's see, Chinese. Any other languages? Let's see. Okay, so is everyone in BookCreator? Let's see. So once you're in BookCreator, you can either sign up, or if you already have an account, then you would sign in. And while everyone's signing in, I'm going to show you some of the books that were made. So over here, these are my books. But what I actually did was every teacher gets your own personal library. Let me see if I can show you. So there's my personal library, and this is the one from last year. However, if as a teacher you teach with you have other teachers in your school and you share students, what you can do is each teacher can then join the other teachers. So this one is actually what the college students did. And let's see. And let's see. So what they did was, they're actually not from SF. They actually came to SF over the summer. So that's one of the books. Let's see. So then you would be able to actually read other students. So this was the group of students that came here and learned at SF State. They went on field trips, and you notice that what they did was they went on the field trips, they took pictures, and they can then upload the pictures into BookCreator. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you how to make a new library. So right now, if I click this, I can't because I already have one active library. So I would have to archive it. However, you notice it won't let me archive it until I actually go in and I stop publishing. So after I stop publishing, all those students that used to be able to access all this, they actually can't access it anymore. So what you can do is you can, before you archive it, you tell all the students they could download the book. So now I'm going to archive it. And now I can make a new library. So over here, you should make sure that they can edit their own books. If you want them to be able to read each other's books, you would click on this. I would do this after they have at least a few pages, and then you could publish their book online. It's whether or not if you want to be able to add comments, so you can actually decide all of these. So now that I have this, I hope everyone's in here. You're going to have all the students then co-here, and you have to invite them. They won't be able to get into your library to make any new books until you invite them. So the easiest way to do that is if you have Google Classroom, I normally copy and paste the invite code in there. You can also, if for any reason some of your students shared your invite code to someone that you didn't want, you can actually over here, it tells you who else was joined, and you can actually remove books and you can remove students. So if you somehow got someone in your library that you didn't want. So here's the part where I was talking about. So these are the different books that they can choose. I would recommend that you having your whole class choose landscape with comic. So if you choose this and you later on want them to be able to add comic, they won't be able to do it. This one tends to be a smaller size and they will have a harder time doing the comic. So if they choose this one, they will have comic features that they can add. So first thing, if you want to add anything, you would add using the add item. They can add images. You can take a picture. They could take pictures of themselves. The pen is for writing. Text would be more for typing. They could also record. So let's say I'm going to add, you could also add images. So let's add an image. So you can search, let's see, I'm going to add a phoenix. I think I'm just going to add this one. And then if you need to adjust the size, you can do this. So you click on the eye, you can change things. So if you click on the eye, you can actually choose a background. So say I do this. So you have an image, a background. Now you probably want to add text. If you can choose any of these, but I'm going to just do the title. So after you add any text, if you have it clicked on, you click on the eye, this is how you change the size. So if you're changing the size of the text, the font, if you don't like the color and you want a different color, you can change where it is. Okay, so once you have the cover, let's do the first page. Okay, so I'm going to show you, let's do a comic for an All About Me. So if you joined, you added the book and you had comic, you will have these features. If you didn't, you will not get to add them. So over here, you can choose whichever panel you want. If you want to add a background, you can still have a background. So the only difference between having the comic panel and not, if you click on the plus inside here, your image will automatically crop into the panel. Oh, let's say, just gonna add a few images. Okay, so let's say your student's having trouble typing in whatever language they're choosing. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to click on text. You're going to notice over here, there is a microphone. So right now it's set on English. So if I speak English, it will type in English. Let's say my student speaks Chinese. So whichever language you want, after you click on this, you can find, so there's Spanish. So you go. So 而家我嗰個係廣東話，佢就會幫我哋打廣東話。如果我要讲国语的话，那里也有国语。So Japanese was also towards the bottom. So just choose whichever language you need. So 如果你的学生要简体字 Okay, so you just need to have them choose the correct language or correct so 他们也可以打繁体字。So the only problem with this is sometimes if they don't speak clearly, it will type in the wrong word. So I just let them know that as long as they know what they wrote, it's fine. If you're typing in Chinese and they're having trouble with that, I tend to teach them to use Google, I think it's called Google Tools. So, Google Input Tools. So all they have to do is come in here, find whichever language they need. And then, let's say they need Japanese. So they click on this and it moves it over here. So whatever you have on this side is what you can use. And for Chinese, since sometimes they know the pinyin, they could use that. I also make them add the one with the pen so that if they don't know the pinyin, they can still actually write it. And then to use it, they just come up here and they choose whichever method that they're inputting in. Any questions for how to make these? Oh, easy way. So let's say you're like in the middle of the school year and you'll have like 45 pages and they do not want to keep clicking over here. If they need an extra page, they have to go to the last page and press the plus. And you're like, I have 45 pages. You go to pages and it will show all the pages they have. And then they just need to go scroll to the very last page, click on the last page, and then they will find the plus button. And if for any reason you're like, I want it in a specific order and page 4 needs to be over here, this is where they go to drag, and they can drag and rearrange their book order pages. Okay. Let's see, were there any other, video. Let's see if we could do that. So if you go to a camera, you can actually go to record video or take a picture. So if they wanted to record, they could do that. Let's see what else. Pen. So if you want them to practice writing versus typing something. So let's say I wanted to write, you can choose the size of the pen. And they can write. Obviously, if you want them to write, it's probably easier if they have like touch screen, because it's really hard to write with a mouse. They can change colors. They can do rainbow colors. So if they're like writing in a single color is going to be boring, now they're going to be like, oh, I can write in rainbow colors. They can erase. There's emoji. Let's see. Okay, so the other thing they can do is this one. So this is the one where let's say you wanted to draw an elephant and you're not really good at it. Let's see if I can get an elephant here. Oh, there's an elephant. So I think I like this one. So if you have any students that are having trouble drawing, they can use this feature and draw as close as they can. And then the computer will ask, did you mean all of these? And they can choose the one that works the best. Let's see, what are some other features? Recording. So let's say I decided to type something. So let's try so I'm writing, I like dolphins. So after they wrote it, they could actually come here and do the record feature. 我喜歡海豚。我喜歡海豚. So this is the icon that goes with the recording if they're just recording the audio. So they could do speech to text, or if they know how to type it up, then you can have them practice recording what they wrote. And if this is too small, you would go to over here and make it bigger. Okay. Let's see, or if they want a speech bubble. So if they have a speech bubble, the only thing is for speech bubbles, I don't think you can do the speech to text feature. So this one you would probably have to write it. Let's see. They also have these. So if they want any of these stickers. Yeah, I think that's pretty much most of the things that I have to teach. So now it's just if there's any particular thing you want me to, or you want to ask. Can they import video? I've never tried that before. Let's see if that, see. I'm guessing not, or maybe it might be a premium feature. I'm guessing you probably can't in. Let me try finding something on YouTube and inserting it. Let's see.
So here's my serious things about the bad girl. You are in big trouble.
I've never tried it. Let me see. But I'm gonna guess you probably can't import video. Yeah, I don't think you can import video. Can you connect BookCreator with Google Classroom? What exactly did you want to do? So, what I do is you can, I'll show you how to download the book. So if you download the book, they can then share it. Let me see. So you go back to the library. Oh, I think you have to publish it first. So I'm gonna publish it. You can also, if you don't want to publish the library, you can also publish individual books. So over here, you can read it. You can move it to different libraries. So what I do is when I combine student books, I move it to my personal library. And then when I archive it, I still have that book in my personal library. So I don't need to go find whichever library I archived it. You can copy books. This is where you would combine books. So this is where you would share. So I would publish it. Book title. You can also decide whether you're gonna make it public or private. So if you're having students put their photos in it, I would probably keep it private. So here's where I would read it online. And I think this is where you would download it. So this is, if you wanted to share the book on Google Classroom, this is where you would do it. Let's see. Oh, so if you go to print, you can save the book as a PDF. So you would download it here. And then this is the only way after you archive it, the students would still have a copy of it. So you would just download it. So this is what they would have a copy of. So it would read this way. I think you can also download it as an ebook, but then I think students have a harder time reading it depending on what they have. You might be able to embed your book, but I know that if you use Google Sites, at least the last time I tried, it wouldn't let me do that. So yeah, it depends on where you're embedding it. Do you need to pay for the account if I have multiple libraries? So the answer is yes. So if you come here, like if I try to create a new library, then they would make me upgrade the plan. So if you want to have, so the reason why I have multiple libraries down here, these aren't actually my libraries. It's the other teachers who made the library and then they shared it with me. So you can actually have access to other libraries if you're not the teacher of it. So I think technically I joined as a student. You can have co-teachers, but co-teachers are part of the premium plan. So the workaround for this is I join, like the teachers join each other's libraries as students, then you can be in each other's library. And the only thing is you wouldn't have access to the teacher tools. That means you can't edit other student books as a student, but only the teacher would be able to do that. So here's some other like books that were collaborations. So the students made Things I Like. So what happened was this student made this book and this student made this book. So what happened is I combined it and all of them just end up being in one book. So this one's made by Jackie and these are the things he likes. This one's made by Amy and these are the things she likes. So that's what happens when you combine books. So they all made their own separate book and I combined it and this is what was made. Here's some other things you could do. So this one, I took pictures of stuffed animals and then the students just kind of, actually I made this with my daughter. So she's actually in 2nd grade. So I was having her do it as an example for when I actually have my students do it. So she just took pictures of the animals, she drew it, and then she made stories. Let's see. Oh, I'm going to show you how to share and make a template. So let's say if you are in the account, you can access certain free books. So this is a free book not made by me. And let's say you wanted every student to have this template. What you would then do, let me see if I remember how to do this. You're able to copy the template. Let me see. Oh, sorry. You need to be in the pages mode. So let's say you wanted this for all your students. So you would come over here and you would copy to. And then I'm now gonna click on this. If you have a whole class of students, you would click this and all of them would get it. So after I copy it, if I go back to this book, at the very back, you will now see this template. So you can actually make your own templates. So you just make a blank page or whatever you want, and then you just copy it to all your student pages. So now all the students have an introduce yourself page. So if like at the beginning of the school year, you're like, I don't want to teach all the different things yet, and you just want them to at least make a page, then that's what you would do. So when you join it, what happens is every so often you might get like an email and they'll say, oh, here's some books that we have that you can share. So this was a Thanksgiving book that BookCreator made. And then what I do is I just go in and I see, well, which one looks good that I want my students to do. And then I would just copy that page. So this was more like a fun one. So let's say you wanted them all to have the word search, or then you can come over here and say, I'm gonna copy it. You could also copy to individual students. So let's say you have like 10 students that needed some kind of review, and you made this for them to review. Then you would just click on those particular students and none of your other students would know about it. So only the students that get it would be able to see that page. So if I go back here, I would now have the word search page. So you can actually make the template. You can find it in someone else's book and add it. Let's see, what else could we do? So if you, let's see. So if you notice, I actually have a whole bunch of books that are made by me because I literally make a new book each year. So as I teach something, I'm doing it in my book so the students can see how to do it. See. You can also use it to make a yearbook. So I probably should have included the year, but let's see. Oh, so if you notice, what I did was each student got their own page where they wrote their favorite memories. And I added a question. So what is your favorite memory of fourth grade? And this I actually made through Pixton Comics. So if you have the students do that, you can make a class picture without actually putting in student faces. So over here, what was your favorite homework assignment? So I just put in different questions and each student got to type up their answer and they all had this yearbook. And then each student did a page. So they added, I think this one, this was the distance learning year. So they weren't actually in my class. So which was probably why I had the Pixton Comics, because we never actually all saw each other. So these were their own images from home. Yeah, so each student got to decide how much, which template to use. So over here, yeah, this was the distance learning class. So some of them were able to write Chinese, some of them weren't. Oh, I think that was the last. Oh, if you're like doing poetry month and you wanted them to write poetry. So each student made a poetry book and then I just combined it. So you'll notice that after I combined it, there's like a page that's blank. You can actually go back in and delete blank pages. So after you combine it, you can actually still go back in and edit it. So this is a easy and cheap way to publish it without like actually spending money, and everyone would have a copy of their own book. Oh, the comic, or I'll type it in the chat. I think it was Pixton Comics. Oh, I'm not sure if I can share that one because your private library is locked. So I don't think that's the only library that you actually can't share. But if you email me and let me see. I've never tried because it was always locked. Some of the books are actually published online. So the ones that are like this are technically published online. I'm just not sure how you would see it. Let me see. It's published online. Yeah, I think all the books that are in your private library, the library isn't really publishable, but the books are. I don't know if you guys can see it though. Are you able to see this one online? The only thing with publishing the student books online is sometimes my students add their first and last name and then an image. So then I try not to like publish it online because then that's kind of like invasion of privacy. But this one, they didn't add their picture, so that one should be fine. Yeah, so what I tend to do is the books that I publish, I just share the link in their Google Classroom so that they could share with their families. Oh, so the My Library is like every account has a My Library, which is private to you. So let's say I wanted to share one of these books with my students, you can actually do that. So what you would do is, let's say I wanted the students to see this book. I would go move, or I would copy book, and I would put it here. So right now my library still has this book, but if I go here, I now have a copy in this library that the students can read. So if I publish this library, then all my students can read this book. And I think it's still uploading. Oh, so now all my students can see this book. And then so if you make an example with a former class, you can then use their example for a future class and say, oh, this is how they did it. And then as an example, and then you could have your students then make one. So this one was, if I copy it, you can actually also, instead of copying it, you can move it. So right now that book disappeared because that book is now over here. So this one was the one I did with the Chinese college students. So they were trying to learn Chinese. So we were getting them interested in Chinese dramas so that they would learn Chinese that way. Let's see. Any other questions? Okay, I need to give you back your, let me see. Okay, so if you have any other questions, you can always email me at citoj@sfusd.edu. So this was before making it on BookCreator. So if you were doing it on paper, but if you are now doing it on BookCreator, it's so much faster. Okay, and they're combining a lot of skills. So here's the slide for the feedback, and this one is for using BookCreator to teach Chinese and other languages. And if you want, you to join my second session, that one's on Adobe Express and making movies. So I will be using some of this stuff in the next one. So if you did the 3 vocab comic, I can show you how to then turn that 3 vocab comic into a movie using Adobe Express. Okay. Let me see if I can put this in the chat. So thank you for coming, and I hope everyone learned something they can use next year. And then if there was a book that you were interested in reading and you want me to share it with you, just email me and let me know which book, or you could let me know which idea you liked, and I'll send you the book link for the one that you want. So I'm going to end the session because the next one actually starts at 11. And if anyone's interested, I'll see you in the Adobe Express one.